Arizona town now under a cloud of controversy. Colorado City, Arizona, the state's only openly polygamous town. Tonight, the story of a man who claims the town's religious leaders have destroyed his family.
It tears you up inside because this is your family.
22-year-old Jason Williams is an angry and a deeply wounded young man.
You know, I've done nothing. I've done nothing but love my wife and children. I still do.
Yet one day last December, when Jason was away at work, his wife Suzanne took the couple's two young sons and fled their little home in Colorado City, Arizona, a tiny desert town best known to the outside world for its open practice of polygamy. A town where all of the land is owned, and critics say most of the lives controlled by a fundamentalist group known as the United Effort Plan, and the group's so-called living prophet, a man by the name of Rulon Jeffs, the very people Jason Williams now blames for the breakup of his marriage.
They just told her, you cannot gain salvation while you're with this man. You get a divorce and we'll put you with a better man.
And Jason says before any divorce papers were even filed, that's exactly what the town's religious leaders did.
So they send over a man she'd never met before, send over a man to marry her. And she's in this position, she's like, well, the prophet wants me to do this, and my salvation depends on it. Okay, I'll go ahead and marry him. He had a wife and two children already, and I'm like, that's my family. You know, you have your family, this is my family. And
you're heartbroken over this?
Absolutely. I mean, I never in my life would have thought I'd get a divorce because we were so tight. I mean, we love each other to death.
Efforts to contact Suzanne Williams at her new home with her new husband have thus far been unsuccessful. And while this story may sound hard to believe, to really understand, community critics say you have to know the climate inside Colorado City.
It's a cult mentality, and they have total thought control over their members.
Ben Beislein is a longtime community critic and an author of A History of Polygamy.
They don't handcuff them, bind them, gag them, that sort of thing, and stand them up there. It's a matter of saying you do this or else you lose your exaltation. It's just that simple. And
you go to hell.
That's right.
We're still in love with each other. She's told me several times, I still love you very much. I feel like I have to do this. You know, she's telling me I feel like I have to do this to gain her salvation.
And what was Jason Williams' great transgression that made him so unworthy? Well, he claims it is because his father is a community dissident in Colorado City, and because he has maintained a relationship with his dad, he too is viewed as a bad guy in the eyes of the town's religious establishment.
The leaders have taken it too far. I mean, mine's not the first case. They've taken other families, and this man's not worthy. Let's marry you to a worthy man.
But Jason Williams is the first man to file a court case against the religious leaders for alienation of affection, a $10 million lawsuit against the UEP and the town's spiritual leader, 89-year-old Rulon Jeffs, a man who lives in this gated compound just over the Utah border with his more than 30 wives and dozens of children.
Is Mr. Jeffs in?
He is.
He
says no comment right now.
No comment? Love to sit down and talk to him about a variety of issues. Talk to him about the lawsuit filed by Mr. Williams.
He's just referred everybody to the lawyers.
And at that point, a local marshal, who is also a member of the polygamous group, showed up to escort us off the property. We did contact Mr. Jeff's Salt Lake attorney, who faxed us a statement calling Jason Williams' lawsuit an unfortunate expression of his personal disappointment concerning the failure of his marriage.
Now, just a minute, you know, I haven't done anything wrong. You know, okay, you want a divorce, okay, but, you know, don't rip my children away from me.
We made headlines all over the world, but Arizona may have its own version. We first brought you the shocking tale of a teenage girl who claims at the age of 16 she was placed in a polygamist marriage. What's even more shocking, the man who she says is her husband and the father of her 3 children is also an Arizona police officer. Mike Watkiss broke the story and has the latest now from the little polygamous town of Colorado City in northern Arizona. Mike?
Yeah, right you are, Patty. Following our first report, a great deal of viewer response made it clear that we had touched a nerve with this story. Story of a young teenage mom on the run with her children, fleeing a polygamous marriage up here in northern Arizona. A story that seems to continue to raise serious questions about the welfare of women and children inside a fundamentalist sect.
I think it's wrong. I wish I wouldn't have got married when I was 16.
Why?
Because I'm too young to have 3 kids. I'm 19. I'm too young to have 3 kids.
It was nearly 2 months ago that we first introduced you to a young woman by the name of Ruth Stubbs, a 19-year-old mother of 2, pregnant with her 3rd child, now on the run, trying, she says, to free herself and her children from what many perceive as a law-breaking fundamentalist cult.
Ruth, how old were you when you got married?
16.
16 years old. How old were you when you became pregnant with your first child?
16.
16. And this was an arranged marriage by the religious leaders of that town?
Yes.
Yes. They told you who to marry?
Yes.
A marriage arranged and performed, according to Ruth, by these men, the father and son team of Ruland and Warren Jeffs, undisputed leaders of the large polygamous community straddling the Utah-Arizona border, a town known as Colorado City, and the man selected 3 years ago to be Ruth's husband, a then 32-year-old Colorado City police officer by the name of Rodney Holm. Like most members of Colorado City's fundamentalist sect, Rodney Holm is a practicing polygamist. Ruth Stubbs was Holm's 3rd wife, and counting Ruth's kids, Rodney Holm is the father of more than 20 children, many of whom Ruth says are supported by welfare.
You were 16 when you became impregnated, when you got pregnant?
Uh-huh.
By Arizona law, that's a crime. You know that?
I didn't know at the time.
You know now?
I know now. Now that I left, I know.
Indeed, for a 32-year-old man to have sex with a 16-year-old girl is a sex crime on both sides of the border in Utah and Arizona. But according to Colorado City dissident and longtime high school teacher Deloy Bateman, it happens all the time.
There are very few girls that actually survive clear to the end of high school.
Most of the girls don't graduate because they're married off.
They're married off before they graduate.
Are they told by the religious leaders whom they're to marry?
Oh, absolutely. Nobody is permitted to make that decision for themselves.
What I have heard, not only from my client but from others, indicates that there's active brainwashing that goes on there.
Attorney William Walker is now helping Ruth fight for custody of her kids. And like a growing number of people, he wonders why other cops are not pursuing what appears to be an obvious and a serious violation of the law.
Is Ruth's husband, Mr. Holm, is he guilty of some sort of statutory sex crime against your client?
Absolutely. He 3 times in Arizona had sex with her when she was 16. That's a crime in Arizona, sexual conduct with a minor.
Why isn't he being prosecuted for that?
I can't answer that question. You have to ask that question of the Arizona authorities.
How do you feel about the possibility of your 2-year-old daughter being taken back and raised in that community?
I went through a lot, and I don't want her to go through the same. I don't want her to have a baby when she's 16. I want her to make somebody out of herself. I want her to be somebody.
And Ruth's concerns about losing her children very real. Mr. Holm now putting up a very vigorous and well-financed effort to gain custody of the children. And in that report, you heard Ruth's lawyer when we asked him what state officials are doing this. He said that we should go ask them. Well, coming up next, we do exactly that. So please stay with us.
Again, here's Mike Watkins live in Colorado City, Arizona, with a look at the investigation now. Mike?
Yeah, Patty, most practicing polygamists will tell you that what they're doing is following a directive of God. The practice of plural marriage, one man, multiple wives, is a divinely inspired principle. But when that principle is used as an excuse to abuse women and children, well, at least one county prosecutor in Arizona is now saying publicly that it may be time to step in.
That's one of the great things about living in this country is you have a right to a lifestyle that you choose that's your own, that may be unique from others. Obviously, you can't break laws, and obviously you can't harm children. And there's some rules that I think cut across every society, including Colorado City.
Mojave County Attorney William Ekstrom choosing his words carefully during an interview with 3 TV yesterday. The topic of discussion, the thousands of polygamists living near the Utah-Arizona border in and around the little Mojave County town of Colorado City. And more specifically, the alleged behavior of one 35-year-old Colorado City police officer, a man by the name of Rodney Holm.
We're getting information about from young women who have left the community about being compelled to marry at an early age and things of that nature, and this bothers us primarily.
And Ekstrom saying he is certainly bothered by the story of this young woman, Ruth Stubbs, a 19-year-old mother of 2, pregnant with her 3rd child. Ruth recently fled an arranged polygamous marriage in Colorado City, and in this exclusive interview with 3 TV, Ruth told us how at the age of 16, she was given as a young bride by Colorado City's religious leaders to a polygamous man twice her age, a man who already had 2 wives and nearly 20 children, Colorado City police officer Rodney Holm, a man sworn to uphold the law, but a man who now appears to have violated it. You were 16 when you became impregnated, when you got pregnant?
Uh-huh.
By Arizona law, that's a crime. Do you know that?
I didn't know at the time.
Do you know now?
I know now. Now that I left, I know.
And now a growing number of people learning of Ruth Stubbs' story, including Mojave County Attorney William Ekstrom, who yesterday officially confirmed what 3 TV has been reporting for months, that the attorneys general in both Utah and Arizona are now actively investigating Colorado City and its religious leaders. Ekstrom also saying those investigators have now given evidence to his office in the matter of Rodney Holm for possible prosecution.
And just 10 days ago, we received the first case, which involves the young lady you've been working with. And we're reviewing that right now. We've spoken to the Attorney General's office in Utah, who's also reviewing it, and we're going to be looking at the case in conjunction with them.
And today in Colorado City, no comment from longtime polygamist Mayor Dan Barlow.
I'm not going to talk to you, Mike. I'm not. Hell, because you're scum.
Also, no comment from the man at the center of the storm, Colorado City police officer Rodney Holm. Recently, we caught up with Holm and his attorney following a custody hearing to decide the fate of his and Ruth's kids.
He doesn't want to make his children the subject of some kind of media circus, and with that, we're not going to say anything else today.
My understanding is that you are a police officer.
We're done for today. We're done for today, sir. Thank you.
My understanding is that you are a sworn police officer in both the state of Utah and the state of Arizona, and that you have teenage brides and perhaps impregnated this young woman when it would be a statutory rape.
We don't have anything to say except to the court.
And the last word this evening for Mojave County Attorney William Ekstrom, the man whose job it may ultimately be to proceed with a possible criminal prosecution.
For the most part, nothing bad goes on in Colorado City, but if we find that there are children who are being exploited or crimes against children or things of that nature, we're extremely concerned about that.
So obviously, this story still developing. The county attorney, Mr. Ekstrom, would not give us a timetable about when a possible decision for prosecution may be made. He tells us that the investigators from the Attorney General's office in both states continuing their investigation, and he's still awaiting additional evidence.
We appreciate your coverage. Thank you very much for that, Mike.